Okay, so this is me in my kitchen. You can see behind me, I have a ton of different foods on the countertop. I've got various things you can see, various things. I'm putting in some cheap cabinets on the wall. And I want you to see all the way there. Let me see if I can get it to show you just how beautiful it is outside. Earlier, I had no problem getting into it. You can see it's all green. It's all green. There's all things. There's also dirty dishes in my sink. Hey, Kentucky girl. I want to talk a little bit today from my kitchen because my husband, he is in the bed. And this is my kitchen before I remodeled it right down to the chicken valances. You can see it right here easily. Chicken, chicken, chicken. Not my favorite. That's why I'm getting ready to crochet all new ones. I want to talk a little bit today. Nice behind me. I want it to be lovely green, but it's not. There it was for a second, half a second. Okay. Here I am today here in Costa Rica. It's a really hot day. I'm not going to make any apologies for my kitchen. It's huge. I cook from scratch all the time here. I should show you my spice racks. I've got insane amounts of spices here. I've been out running around today, running errands. I'm having kind of a bad day because last night my husband got real sick, and he's been kind of out of it for a couple of days now. So there's that. What's going on with him is I was actually afraid he might have COVID. I don't think he does. He was exposed on Sunday, which my biggest rant is no one in the American churches here thinks that you should have to wear a mask. So nobody wears a mask. And COVID spreads like wildfire through American churches here because of that. So he was exposed on Sunday. I know it's too early for him to be having those kind of symptoms. Plus, he's had these symptoms since I went to the States off and on. I think it's just a cold virus he's fighting off. And I've got a little touch of it too. I think that's what it is. I don't think either one of us have COVID. I don't think we have the beer virus. Here I am saying it over and over, COVID, when they'll strike me for that. Neither one of us have the beer virus, I'm pretty sure. He's actually better than he was this morning and last night. I was trying to do a StreamYard earlier, and I can't seem to get StreamYard to work well for me here, which is too bad because I wanted to share some screen caps. What I'm going to do is when this is over, I'm going to go into the portion of my where you put posts up that are not videos, and I'm just going to upload all the screen caps one at a time. I want you guys to see these. Why? Because they show exactly why Todd Chrisley is mad at someone, and they show exactly why a certain tale, without a box of Kleenex has been telling forever, is different than what she's saying now. So I want you to see all those. Those two sets of screen caps pretty much show what kind of person that we're dealing with here. And I'm happy to be finished talking about her on this until the actual legal documents drop. It's just gotten insane. He is feeling better. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Aaron. I know there are colds and stuff. And this time of the year here, I get sinus infections, almost continual sinus infections. And it's pretty crazy. That happens because it's very humid outside. It's hot, it's humid, it's sticky and gross. And there's that. And there's my refrigerator that the handle and around it, it looks gross from here, like it's dirty, but it's not. I've scrubbed it so much the paint has come off. So we're going to have to get a new fridge, a new stove. I'm going to be trying to see if we can get a dishwasher put in. All the way back there, I did a pop tile backsplash and beiges behind the sink. So there's that. I'm going to paint the room beige. I've got beautiful things I'm working on for the curtains. Aaron, hey, Christoph, and that'll do it to you. That was the other thing I was going to say is I don't know about you guys, but I have to take supplements at various times to maintain my health with my various problems I have. Oh, shoot, I forgot about that. I meant to grab a bottle. They have this wonderful vitamin here that's a chewable vitamin. It's vitamin C mixed with zinc. And anytime I think there's any possibility somebody here has the beer virus, Rona, or anything else that they may spread to me, we start popping the vitamin C zinc tablets like crazy. And I do some zinc tablets. I just have to dig them out. So there is that. And I'm hoping, Stinky, what are you doing? You showed him my cat. So I'm hoping that by use of some of these supplements, so we can actually stay pretty well. I found for me during this time of the year in Costa Rica, when I get sinus infection after sinus infection because it rains every day, that if I take garlic, it seems to just knock it out. So I'm feeling like I've got to do the garlic, the vitamin C, the vitamin D, and the zinc again to kill whatever is trying to creep onto me from my husband. Poor thing, he's been asking me to rub his eyes and sit and watch TV with him and stuff. I don't want to get within 10 feet of him in case he does have the Ronas. You know, I hate to say it. So there's that. So I'm disappointed I couldn't get StreamYard to work right. But I'm not willing to pay them the bucks for that. And I'm not sure it would work anyway here. Half the things in Costa Rica don't work. I keep talking all the time about what are you doing? About how in Costa Rica everything takes a tremendous amount of time. I've got a picture to put up to show you what Costa Rican plumbing could look like if you're not. There goes my cat. He just completely knocked my computer. You're going to see him. There he is. He's on the other side, and he's over by the living room. So settled, so you guys are not getting sick to your stomach. So anyway, going back to him and his illnesses and taking all the supplements that you can. The night before my hubs got tested for I sneezed all over me. Oh my goodness. Aaron, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened. I know how that is though. I told him don't sneeze on me, don't breathe on me, don't anything. So I think it's probably a cold at this point. He never gets sick. He's gotten sick a fair number of times since we've been here, because that's one thing I wanted to say about Costa Rica. When you come here, it will take you a while to get acclimated to the different types of crud we have here. I'm just going to say it. The different kinds of viruses, the different kinds of everything else. Hey, American Princess. You get acclimated to those things, and it takes a good solid year, I think, before you stop catching every cold and virus that comes down the pike, and before you start building up some kind of immunity to the bug population here as well. I tell people to hang in there because it does come eventually, and we get it. We get it. So that's what you got to do. Okay, so don't push mine. He's laying on the counter. He's pushing against my nice ceramic bowl full of apples and bananas that I have sitting out. I guess I need to throw those peaches out too. I want to talk a little bit too about, I saw that Erin did the funniest video of all time, I thought. Erin of EKC People Suck. She did a wonderful video on her entitlement translator that I really laughed at this morning. She released it, taking clips from a live stream that Natalie, KJ, Waxy, and I don't know if Charlotte was on there or not, but it was kind of weird. I just have to say something about Waxy. I initially liked Waxy. Right up until I watched one of her videos where she tried to say that what KJ was saying about the Duggars was entirely made up. As much as I don't like a lot of the things that KJ says about the Duggars, sometimes there's a grain of truth in it. The Duggars are not the squeaky clean, perfect family that Waxy tries to say that they are. And that's the only thing I really hold against Waxy up until this whole thing happened with her hooking up with Charlotte and deciding that Steve McRae is to blame for everything. Steve McRae is in everybody's mouths lately. The screen caps I'm going to post were from me talking to KJ, and she said that Steve McRae talked about his penis around her and offended her, and talked about his sexual performance, which is a completely different story than the one she says now. And no, little bitty grain, the size of a mustard seed again. Yeah. The size of a mustard seed. You're right. There are things to dislike about them, but a lot of stuff that's been said is just over the top. Just over the top. And you also have to keep in your memory whenever there's Duggar news, even if it's reported by some of the British papers, the British tabloids, it's not exactly always the truth. It can be from some unnamed Duggar insider. I used to get those emails all the time with info from the unnamed Duggar insiders. I rarely used them because they were rarely very accurate. It was mostly just made up garbage or expositions. And as you saw yesterday, it is easy enough to get turned around and give the wrong name. I mean, I got turned around yesterday on the Dustin thing and said Dustin Daily, and it wasn't. I picked that up from somebody else, and I also had thought it was true because KJ had a lot of aggro with him at one point. They had been arguing. So there was that. And obviously it isn't him now, and he's actually said that it isn't him, which is good. But where it got really strange yesterday with all of that was that I corrected myself immediately when I realized I was wrong and realized where I picked up that, and my cat has hit the computer. And corrected that. I corrected it because it was definitely not true. And the upshot of that is that somebody that goes into Real Entertainment News' live streams frequently came into my comments and said a lot of really silly things about it. And I said, did you even bother watching my video all the way to the end? You'll see that I corrected the info in just minutes flat. And then that person took that info and went to Dustin Daily and just spammed him, saying that I'd said X, Y, and Z, which, like I said, it was a very quick slip of the tongue. And I corrected it, and this person blew it up to the size of the Zeppelin. I think that's one of the dangers of gossip online with talking this stuff. That's why I'm not really going to talk much about all that today. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and just post the screen caps where everybody can see them and make their own decisions. Christoph, I try to always do that. When I discover I've made a mistake, I try to. Sometimes it takes longer. I'm stubborn. And I have a temper. And my temper went off last night when I saw this person doing this. And it was somebody that I was friends with on Twitter, too, that I wasn't real happy about being friends with her because I looked at the name and I said, that's got to be one of those fake names. There's no way on earth somebody's name actually is that. And even though I did work with somebody with the same first name, last name, I worked with her at a medical clinic. She was awful. She was an awful person to work with. Aaron, I think it's interesting. I think that the problem is there's so many things that have been said, and there's so many things that have happened that it's really hard to know exactly what's happened. Erin posted on her site today what she thinks has happened, and people are disagreeing with her. I think she has a good corner on the truth. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it makes as much sense as anything else. Like I said, I know that a lot of things aren't true. I know that KJ's things she said about Steve are not true because the story keeps evolving. And when people keep changing their story to fit whatever's going on at that moment, I know damn good and well they're a liar. Christoph, it was okay. It's BS. They should have heard with the correction. This person just went in there and did it to stir up drama, which is silly. I blocked her on every way, shape, and form now. So, hey. But it is. I mean, I think what we're going to have to do, KJ said don't talk about her. And I don't see how we can avoid talking about her because it's constant drama. It's every day. It's every day, every day. It's something new. And it's hard not to talk about those things. As much as I dislike talking about her now, I don't see any way around it. I think we almost have to sometimes to try to figure out what's going on because it's so awful. And here's where I think it's really awful is when you start speculating on the sexuality of children, you start speculating on whether children have been harmed in SA, you start all these speculations on that. You really harm some people. And she had some very harmful type sort of thoughts on Todd Chrisley too, which she was giving out back on Pathos. And I have screen caps of that too, which I'm going to share. I hope the Todd Chrisley suit drops soon so I can see the documents. I would like to see the legal documents. And before I do anything else on there and say anything else on how this is going to go. Like I said, I know there's another legal group of things happening that are coming. And there's that. I saw last night Unirock speculating, and he was actually saying some things that I knew darn good and well were a lie, but I couldn't expose why I thought they were a lie because it would mean exposing a friend. And I wasn't about to do that. Her, chronically B queen. That's the thing I hold against her, really. The stuff she says about other people has real world consequences. It's not just saying something about celebrities or people in the news. It has real life consequences. I'm just thankful she never figured out anything about a friend of mine who's currently in the news, just a tiny bit, because she would have grabbed that ball and run with it, even though the allegations that are ending up in the media are so overblown, it's ridiculous. So I'm not even going to go into that. And she doesn't realize it. Yes, she doesn't. She thinks it's perfectly fine. And she really would run with it, exactly. I'm curious to see where she's gone. Well, I know she hasn't said anything further about when Shamblin Lara, I can't never figure out the last name. She hasn't said anything further about her and about the plane crash. I'm still waiting for the NTSB report before I make any kind of comments on that. Like I said, I spoke to 2 different documentary companies and was filmed up talking about this very thing. And they've raised some strange questions that I have to think about as well. Chronically, I would be too. I'd also like to see the lie detector test. Hook her up, like Chris Hansen used to do to people sometimes. Hook her up, run the narrative. Let's see. Let's say, hey, did you do X, Y, and Z? Because her history, and I want to go over this so that I can never talk about her, so I can push on and do other subjects. You have to consider she started out with the chronically ill children people. She did fundraisers there. She started writing about it. She's been chased out of communities over and over again. I've seen evidence of that. Oh, happy birthday. Oh, happy Tuesday. I'm sorry. Love the kitchen color, but I know you don't. I don't. It's a lot oranger than is coming through here. I just really want something neutral. I don't care if it's a very, very pale aqua, a white, a beige, a pale yellow, anything different. They are inadmissible, but it would be fun to see. there's a lot of things that would be fun to see. And I know questions I would ask. I have very specific questions, knowing her history, knowing she started with the chronically ill children's group, and then she moved on to blogging, and then she moved on to Pathos. At Pathos, she created lots of Facebook groups, or she wormed her way into being an admin. That happened. I saw it. She called the law on a woman that gave birth, that the birth went sideways, one of the free birther people. Then when she left Pathos, and it was after saying some statements about Tati Westbrook and James Westbrook and Todd Chrisley that are problematic. They're just problematic things. And she was basing this all on stuff that Chrisley's daughter, Lindsay, said to her. It is a nice change of scenery from the background. So that's I did think about showing you the background, my chicken well, but I decided not to. It's just little, that's why I did it, because this is just a little bit different. And I'm sitting here in the AC, sweating my ass off. I'm not exactly feeling tip top today either. She is very toxic and chronically, and that's what I wanted to say. I would advise anybody, stay away from her. Don't get drug into this thing, because this thing is going to take on its own life, just like the other lawsuit did. The more of these lawsuits that come out and she's involved with them, I think the crazier it's going to get, and we're going to see all kinds of stuff. I don't envy her. I don't want to have to pay lawyers all that money. Paying legal fees sucks, and I've had to do it because of different things here involving investments and things like that. I've had to pay lawyer fees, and it is not money well spent. I'm sorry, it usually isn't. It's usually money that goes straight down the drain. You never see it again. You're like, why in the heck did I do that? Why in the heck did I think this was going to be so awesome and that this was going to help so much when it didn't? I'm not even going to speculate anymore who the restraining orders were for. I have a feeling I know who it was. I don't know what's going to happen there either, because here's the thing with where she lives. Anybody can take out a restraining order on anyone else for any reason, a temporary restraining order. But to make that restraining order permanent, you have to really jump through some hoops. You really do. And you have to prove your case. You can't just say, oh, this restraining order needs to take place because this person makes me feel threatened. You have to actually show what they're doing. I know, Amanda, they are all imploding. And here's what's crazy is for me, the craziest was seeing Charlotte and Waxy as Unirotten mods. It was just like, what the heck are they thinking? What are they thinking? And they're talking to KJ now. It's unbelievable. It really is. And the people they're blaming for a lot of this are genuinely not involved. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a lawsuit or two over that as well. I mean, if it was me and somebody was saying all that, I commanded thousands of people, I would be pissed off. Pissed off enough to hire an attorney in the States and do something. But while I'm here, it's all pura vida. My husband's in there sleeping. I am getting ready to look up my pattern because I started doing my curtains last night and realized this old brain, this 61-year-old brain, doesn't always remember the starting. I had to look at the starting, and so I would just encourage you, don't insert yourself. I'm not going to insert myself. I'm going to try to talk about her as least as possible. Don't insert yourself. Don't give her fodder. Don't give her something new to say about you. And part of me feels like flipping double birds and saying, I'm going to talk about you every single day just because she said she didn't want to talk about her. But I'm just wired kind of rebellious like that. I've always been a contrarian. I probably will die a contrarian. I probably will not. Yeah, just watch the show. Just watch the show. And I've been taking notes since since her and I had our little falling out on all of this, with an eye for maybe writing a book, because I think when all the lawsuits shake out, we're going to have a lot of material, and we may even have new laws that result from this, because we're kind of off the charts in we're kind of off the charts in territory right now. Who knows what's going to. I think that it's, like I said, it's probably. I think that it's, like I said, it's probably going to. The legal system is not caught up with the internet yet, and the internet moves very fast. Like I said, I'm here on YouTube, an old technology that I just got on a year ago. Well, actually 2 years ago, because I had to answer Larry Sullivan when he was saying all that stupid crap about me, and I wanted to answer him that time. But it's, yeah, nothing to these creators. Don't give them engagement or dialogue of any kind. Amanda, you're right. I think we just need to keep their voice, their names out of our mouths publicly. Now, if you want to talk to somebody behind the scenes in private message, go for it. But no, I've seen so much of these private messages go sideways. That's why I have no compunction about sharing my private messages with her. I wish I had I'd done screen caps all along, because it would shock you, some of the things that she said about everybody. I think it would shock everyone, the things that were said. And she had to keep changing Facebook profiles, because I would block her on a regular basis, because fed up with the BS and block her for a while, unblock her, or she'd come in on another thing. I thought I had another Nigerian scammer I was going to play with, who friended me when I was in the US, who spammed me galore, and it was very romantic spamming. Like, I hadn't even talked to him once, and he was saying, "Oh, my dear, I miss you so drastically," just crap like that. And I wanted to respond, but I couldn't really while I was in the States. When I got back here, I had some difficulties with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I just got really exhausted, because exhausted, run down, and now I've got this thing going on. So Facebook's mushed him like they want to do. So used to be you could string them along for months and months and months. Not now. With Facebook being more on top of these things, they squash these guys after a week or 2 weeks. So he got squashed. Oh, yeah, Mandy, he was really over the top. So he had a picture of this. He was a typical Nigerian romance scammer. He had a photo of some random white guy of the 50s, who's around 50, as his profile pic. The guy was wearing military fatigues. He had, the only pictures and things he had were things like, "Oh, my darling, look at this bouquet I picked for you," and just stupid stuff like that. It was a new profile. It had all those over-the-top things. The only thing he had in his info is he was a widower, which they all put on there. They all say they're a widower, all of them, without a doubt. And they put stuff about how they're looking for the perfect person to just rock their world and be their ever-loving person. And the other thing is then when you go into their info and you start clicking, and you start looking at their pictures, you start looking at their friends lists are almost always other Nigerian scammers. Their interests are almost always Nigerian related. And things they're going to do or looking at, Nigerian. So there's that. So I always laugh when I see these guys, and I do a thorough deep dive, and then I take a ton of screen caps, and then I upload them to 3 places that I'm involved with. Say, hey, this guy is a scammer. I've gotten to where I can spot them before I even talk to them. And they all have children in boarding school somewhere too. Amanda, you're right, they do. They have, and they always say, "I'm looking for someone to be a mother to my child." And the children are always in boarding school or private school somewhere. The kids are never with them. They like to say they're either military. Another big one is ship captains, or working on international shipping, or working in the oil and gas industry. I've gotten 2 or 3 that tried to say they were doctors at Doctors Without Borders. Those are the ones I love, and I'm sick that the last one I had, I never got to play with him because it happened on the trip. Those guys are the most fun because you can make up every kind of BS medical thing you could dream of. Tell me you have fulminating toenails or lactating stomach, or your hair is broken and needs a splint. You just come up with the most ridiculous things, and they always act like it's a real thing. They act like you really are talking about some real medical condition. And you know that you've come up, oh, tycoons, oil tycoons, you're right, oil tycoons too. And they come up with it and say, oh, I would take good care of you in your retirement. I would make sure you had the best, finest medical care that I could give you, which is kind of crazy because most physicians I've known do not treat their family members. There's a reason why most physicians don't treat their family members, and they avoid writing prescriptions for themselves. You just watch Dr. House. I know it's fictional, but there's a lot of truth there, according to one of the physicians I used to work with. And he talked about House and his Vicodin being extremely, extremely unlikely. And I can see that. Military or oil tycoon. Yes, and that's what's really funny about it is if you know something about the military, you can ask them stuff and that they won't be able to answer. And it's the same thing with the oil and gas industry. If you know anything slightly about it or slightly where they claim to be, you can ask them a million questions and they'll freak out. And they won't have an answer, or they'll just repeat what it is they've said to you in the first place. Those are the ones that I just absolutely adore. So those guys are the worst because they only have their little pre-scripted answer, and any kind of weird curveball you can throw at them is good. I was thinking the other night, I haven't used a persona of somebody worshiping Satan. I haven't used a persona of someone that bumped off their husband. I've got a pile of fictional crazy stories I'm going to tell these guys. I absolutely love it when I'm talking to them and they suddenly PM me and say, I am not going to talk to you any longer. You are crazy. That's the most fun. We can scare them away for fun, and then you've got all the other photos and things, and you just hit upload at the Nigerian sites showing the world that they're using this profile. They'll never be able to use that name again to try and scam women. It's all good. It is all good. I used to love to fool with the Nigerians for, 419 Eater and a lot of other places. 419 Eater makes me laugh. They have these huge sections that have things that people have gotten scammers to do. My favorite one is when they make them get tattoos, which is really dumb. Church of the Holy Scammer. I mean, stupid stuff. Or when they take trophy photos. Trophy photos are always fun. That was another thing besides talking about KJ that my husband has insisted that I stop doing, is fooling with the scammers who are in Nigeria. I used to love to see if you could get them to do a safari, which is you get them to spend their own money to chase you all over Africa, so that they think that you're going to give them this big amount of money and you're making them spend money on travel and whatever. And you don't have any money for them. You're not in Africa. It's the most fun a person can have for free. Knowing that I'm frustrating these guys, I'm working them up, I'm making them spend major amounts of time with me and money, means they can't be harassing someone else or they don't have time for it. I keep them busy chasing me around. That was my nun persona. I would do the nun persona. I had a phone number and the whole 9 yards, and none of them ever caught on that Sister Susie Fleecem was trying to fleece them. So if you can get them to spend money, you can do a safari, get them to chase you all over the place. That's the most fun. There's a guy on 419eater.com named Shiver Me Timbers. That's his baiter name. That has some of the funniest baits I've ever seen. Yeah, he likes to squash my fun. He's an old fuddy duddy. He is afraid that some Nigerian's going to come after me and show up. It's like, dude, they don't know where I am. I'm going through a VPN. I can go in through anywhere in the world, and I usually do. He seems to think there's a lot of risk there, so I stopped doing it for him. He doesn't mind the Nigerian romance scammers because he knows that Facebook's going to squash him quick enough, and I'm going to torture them in the meantime. I think with the KJ stuff, he's afraid. He's afraid that she'll sue or something else with her will happen. And that's a possibility. He's right. And as he said, I really don't want to add to this. I don't want to add to anybody else's pain. I don't want to have to keep reporting she called Soapy Long a brat, a spoiled brat, I think it was, or was it just a brat? I don't want to have to even think about that stuff. The week that I was in Virginia, shoot, I keep saying Virginia. I lived in Virginia. The week that I was in Maryland, and I didn't turn on my computer because I didn't have bandwidth to go online, and there were other things and they're settling in, was the most peaceful week of the last year and a half since I started talking to Steve McRae and joining the KJ Truther community. I'm still going to be part of the Truther community, but it will be on the low key. I'm going back down to being low key. I'm not really very submissive, Amanda. Sometimes I will do whatever the heck I want. Many times. But I used to be extremely submissive, and it didn't work out well for either one of us. Turns out he doesn't want a submissive wife. He wants somebody who's going to go in there and kick ass and take names and do what needs to happen to solve the things that I'm good at that he's not good at, like say fixing the internet, fixing his computer, stuff like that. And I don't want to have to say, may I please, each time. It was a big thing with us when we worked, when we were part of the whole Quiverful movement. Eventually we discovered it didn't work for us, so we went back to what we did from the day we got married. I do the things I do well, he does the things we do well, and we meet in the middle sometimes. So that's really how it works for us. And I wanted to say, yesterday we had friends over, and it was the most fun time ever. She brought her kids. A friend of ours brought her kids over. She came over from the States, came to see us. She was only in Tampa for a day or so, and we had a blast. So those things are important too. And I would like to encourage everybody to spend less time online. I'm trying to get my book written. I'm trying to spend a lot less time. If somebody PMs me, I'll respond, but most of the time I'm just going to be offline. I need to finish my book. I've got those curtains I got to make. I've got to figure out what color exactly we're painting in the kitchen. And so many different things that I'm involved with right now. And the funniest thing from yesterday was the kids discovered we have a waterbed. And at one point I walked in there and they were both under the covers on our bed, propped up on our huge piles of pillows, watching TV. And I had to laugh about that because they were asking me why our big TV was what's in there, our little one's out here. And I said, because we like to do the same thing you're doing. We like to get in the bed, sit up on those pillows, and watch the widescreen TV that we have in our bedroom. That's our favorite thing to do in the evenings or when we're sick, Yeah. It was very cute, Amanda. I should have taken a picture. It was really, really cute what those kids were doing. I couldn't believe it. And then they ran around and petted all the stray cats, and the stray cats were loving it. So it's good every now and then to be reminded that there is actually a world outside the internet. Okay, I'm going to go. It's been too long as it is now, and I've got to get all the screen caps up that need to be out. Steve McRae already has the screen caps that involved him. I showed him those as soon as I started talking to him. So he does have those. And they do prove that the story has changed. The story has changed drastically. The screen caps were from early May 2020. And so that's not a whole lot. We're in August now, so that's like 15 months ago. And these screen caps of the Pathos thing, I took them off the Wayback Machine. Unfortunately, the articles are not still there, but it does show a little synopsis, and it shows the headlines, and it shows what was discussed. Most of those came about just about more than 15 months ago. They came out in 2019, summer, I want to say. So there they are. You guys have a great day. I'm done with her. I'm done with her. I'm done with her. I'm going to have to make a voodoo doll or do a ritual and cleanse the house after talking about her, because it's just too much. Okay, love you guys, and I'll be back. I have something real to talk about.